if you open the link, so you see this one, you can download this PDF file to your local PC. You can review later on. So I just did that. Actually, I didn't have to download, I uploaded. Okay, so when you download, it's going to become a PDF file. All of the links in this PDF file would work. Not from the GitHub page, but from your local PC. So today's topic is about SQL Server to Azure Synapse migration. And this is the agenda outline. We'll cover what, why, and how. Really, what is Azure Synapse? Why am I migrating it? What is benefit? How do I do it? So this is really covers the agenda. So I'll get right into it. So about me, I've been with Microsoft for about 5.5 years. The first like 5 years, I've been doing a lot of migration, any data warehouse into Azure Synapse, including Teradata, Netezza, Google BigQuery, Redshift, and we actually have APS, which is our on-prem data warehouse. I helped really migrate hundreds of them to Azure Synapse. Published the IP, which in 2018 is well used. So last year, I did another IP, which is a SQL Server to Azure Synapse migration. It's a GitHub, and I also have a YouTube training videos. I used all of the script in my customer engagement. And basically, actually, script is a result of customer engagement. So I want to automate my work and then publish the methodology script, and so everybody can use it. So everything starts from manual and automate my work and share my IP. So these are the some IPs. This is APS I mentioned, like it's upgraded last year, published. I'll show you where they are. And the customer migrated to Azure Synapse. Like this customer migrated both Netezza and Redshift to Azure Synapse. There's a case study. And Walgreen migrated Netezza to Azure Synapse. So these are my earlier works. Recently, I'm working on, in this program, Early Access Engineering Innovation Program, more moved into machine learning. So publish the first solution accelerator is right here, which is automate the invoice process automation. My tool set. So at the core, I grew up as a developer, software engineering, heavy hands-on software engineering. So these are the programming language I've been working with. This is early on, C++ and Java. So recent years, this is the last 4 language I'm using, particularly Python. So I have a lot of PowerShell you see in that IP I published. Okay, let's see, focus on the SQL Server to Azure Synapse Analytics migration. When I say SQL Server, really, I'm looking at a subset of SQL Server where you have your enterprise data warehouse or data mart hosting in a SQL Server. Large amount of data, and it's most of them have a star schema data warehouse type of workload. And if you want to move SQL Server, if the other kind of workload is transactional, there are other options to move to the Azure. So that is out of scope of today's topic. So for those who haven't worked with Azure Synapse, is really the data warehouse in the Azure on steroid. So it's really, you get that whatever on-prem data warehouse is doing today in history, Azure Synapse can do, which is actually the SQL engine. And there is a SQL provision pool and serverless. You basically have 2 engines. This is your traditional SQL workload. So our SQL Server workload most likely will be a good fit for this engine. And besides that, you have Apache Spark engine. So this is similar to Azure Databricks. So that is another engine. And I recently added a Data Explorer. So this is the engine working and to run your workload. And they all work with Azure Data Lake Storage Gen 2. So this is the massive data storage, the unlimited storage with, really good price. So this is how this stack work together. For the user, you have an Azure Synapse Studio, where you can have the data integration, management, monitoring, security in one user interface. And data integration means if you are familiar with Azure Data Factory, so this is instead of creating a resource for Azure Data Factory, you can just use a data integration service within the Azure Synapse. So simplify your end-to-end data integration, managing your database and monitoring your workload and building security, network security, SQL security, all the SQL security you're doing today, you can continue to do in Azure SQL Data Warehouse. And besides, is well integrated with Azure Purview, and you can. This is the part is integrates Azure machine learning. Azure Data Warehouse normally has so much well integrated and historical, current, cleaned data, which corporation rely on to generate business intelligence and make decisions. And would be best to just use that data to machine learning. Okay, so on data analysis, you have Power BI, and you can actually hook a lot more, like MicroStrategy, Tableau, or other BI stack direct to this engine, particularly to the SQL engine. You just need to point to it. So we have all of the connection to your downstream. On the left side, you can just integrate it with whatever source data. You can integrate data from Google, AWS, or any cloud or on-prem, or like Salesforce. So a lot of application data you can pump into this suite. So this, in a nutshell, is Azure Synapse Analytics. So next, why do I want to do that? So here list all of the benefits, actually not all of the benefits, just list a few, which if you are working with this initiative, so you can communicate it to your management, business sponsors, tell them what is the benefit. And many times business don't want to pay for platform change. If you don't deliver additional business value, it's very hard to get business funding. So here are the fundamentally increase your business agility. You can start Azure Synapse Analytics environment in a few minutes. It can make it start from small and scale up. And if you pause the database, you don't pay anything. You only pay the storage, compute, you basically don't pay. So this is a lot of tremendous saving agility. So, and you don't manage infrastructure, OS, you don't even manage SQL Server upgrade. You know how much work that is. If you have a SQL Server 2016, you want to get to 2000, now you want to get the latest 2019. So that upgrade, you don't have that headaches anymore. And so the speed market is really the one the business will really listen, and the cost savings. Scalability, that is this cost saving, that is for IT people like that. and the integrated tooling. Other things is that you can start QA, pre-production, UAT, production environment, pre-production, just in minutes, and delayed if you don't use it anymore. This is really great. So anyway, so I think everybody is most familiar with that already working with the cloud. But I just want to give you some summary of how you communicate to people who don't understand or they're not technical people, so that's your language to use with the business. So migration journey. So usually you have business drivers, right? Cost, I want more capability, faster, cheaper, better. That's really business driver. And then you say, hey, with all of that, you have done your analysis, you say Azure Synapse benefited, Azure Synapse is the best product to migrate that. As I said, not all of the workload is the best fit for Azure's Synapse Analytics. But once you determine that, and today I'm going to cover all of the journey after you decided that is your best choice. Very common if you're using SQL stack, your ETL also has SSIS, SSRS. We have assessment script you can run to actually we have Power BI report to give you a really visualized report, give you good reports so you can make a decision. You can assess the complexity and work effort. So this is assessment and also SQL Server. And then with all of that, you design your modern data warehouse architecture in Azure. And your next thing is be code migration, data migration, data process. So I will cover the code migration and data migration today. So this is this 1 and 2 here. That SQL Server still here. You got historical data moved. And then I want the ETL, the incremental data can get to it. Whatever the new data get to SQL Server, I want it. So I want this one is working fully. And then I can cut off this SQL Server and hook to the new data process. Yeah, and this will be a new process every day, every hour, whatever frequency. The SQL Server will not be in the architecture anymore. So this is your key task. So the above is for like a POC MVP pilot type of project. If this is successful, and you can do a production planning. So bottom is that you can reuse a lot of this script and the other tools. So this is just one of the paths you can take. So there are other accelerators available. Some offered from third party. This one today, what I'm representing is no cost. So all of the tools I'm presenting today is you just download and run. It's open source in the GitHub. So now let's give you a walkthrough of the GitHub. So if you click this link, the repository is this part. So let me see, I already have it. So this is the GitHub repository. There's assessment folder. You see, you can go to SSIS, you can get to SSRS, and this, and also this is actually on this root. There's assessment to PowerShell script, well documented. However, I want to that you know this tool is a very powerful, is a complex PowerShell script. It works with can hook to Netezza, Teradata, APS, Synapse, all of these source systems, and generate a bunch of CSV files, and the Power BI can load them and generate Power BI report. And this is more I call heavy duty assessment, and the Power BI report is developed for all of this. So you have SQL Server, okay? So that's the assessment. And another folder is migration. So the migration is at the SQL Server. Yeah, as I mentioned, this is APS to SQL Server migration. We have upgraded the version of it. This is a SQL Server. This is what I'll cover today. So this is the process and how it works, their options, and each module. So these are the module. If I say I want to translate tables, and you click that, you only use the translate table PowerShell script. There's some configuration file, and this also you can generate your configuration file. So this is how this IP is organized. So every module has its own README file. It's like Legos, yeah, just one piece. Just do that piece. So this is a SQL Server assessment that heavy duty. In a situation where you want to have a quick result, I do have a lightweight T-SQL script you run. I'll introduce that later and show you the output. Okay. So that's a SQL Server assessment. This is SSS assessment. So this is like that repository assessment, SSS, where I showed you. So this one will give you the information listed here. How many SS packages and version, SQL Server version, package or versus the project deployment, a lot more information, right? And then you can have the Power BI report. It's really, this is, we have used this for customer engagement. So customer really like it to just have a very simple assessment. I don't have the SSAS. Somehow I missed that page. And this deck was developed some time ago. The SSRS. Oh, SSRS, you should go there. Under here, you should SSRS. And it's well documented here. So the SQL Server Lightweight is basically a SQL Server, a SQL T-SQL script, which I wrote to collect information. You run against each SQL server will produce a table like this. So number of tables, database name, and external table, columns, identity columns, procedures, views, triggers, a few other useful information. And also there is database size, okay? Yeah, this is continuous database size. So you know that how big the data set is. Another accelerator is in that, so let me show you where that code actually is. SQL Server. So there's a module 0, which I didn't document. It's all T-SQL. People are so good with T-SQL. You just look at the script, it's very simple. So this is the one I showed is SQL Server DB object and the size. So I wrote this one, and you just run this. If there's anything not working in your SQL Server, you guys are master and can fix it. Oh, another one, there are two useful here is this one is check your store procedures and view dependencies. So it's which store procedures depending on which store procedures. So you want to move migrate the one which have no dependencies first. Make it work and migrate other later. So if you migrate the code, step by step, unless you move everything at one time. So that is the lightweight dependency T-SQL script I just showed you. Now get to this process. This is if you go to the migration SQL Server folder. You see all of the documentation. This is just one of the diagram. There are two options. One is just use the BCP to export data, which work with all SQL servers. The other ones use Polybase, which only works with SQL Server 2016 and later. And I actually recommend use this. This work with everything. It's simple, and the Polybase configuration requires some work. And this doesn't need any configuration really. You just need to have the right access to the database. Mainly you're extracting things from database. You don't change the database. You don't need a high power role to perform this work. So training video, this is the YouTube training video. If you click the one on the deck, actually I have it somewhere here. So these are the modules. The YouTube video, which I published last year. So this is the overview of the process visually, and then run one PowerShell script, run the module one. So explain, in audio and the visual format instead of reading GitHub. Some people read very fast and get it quickly. Other people want to see a visual and somebody talking. So we give you both. So these are all of these 8 videos. Since I published this one early on, I have a coworker who added additional module 1A and 1B. Andre Mursky, he did a video on this. So originally I only have like 6 videos, and now I have more. This one is a demonstrate the entire process. It's rather long, 1 hour. If you are not doing the work, and I suggest you skip this. Just watch that. This one, since we added this 1AB, the IP is updated. So I did the update demo with all of the modules. This is for the BCP. So 1AB, 2, 4, 5. One thing I want to point out is there are some goodies I buried in this here. Is bonus material. This is for the advanced user who actually migrated to Azure Synapse already. You want to optimize Synapse performance. I have this generate Synapse code. It's a PowerShell. So if you really need it, you figure this how to use this. So that is the more advanced portion of it. Let me back to the here. So I just, I'm not going to go through all of these today. Just to let you know where are the resources. So now let's see, you have all of that accelerators you can use. How do you plan your POC or production migration? How do you manage the risk? So back to this lightweight SQL, T-SQL script, you get the output like this. So what kind of SQL server will take more effort? Of course, large number of tables. So this is many databases, and for this one is a really like 16,000 tables, 8,000 store procs, and this many views and triggers, right? So I would say, hey, this takes more effort. So this is the large data set, and code is complex, most likely complex. And you could have only like 1,000 table or 500 table. It'll be a small. The effort to be relatively easy. And also, if you have triggers, this need to be migrated to some other code because Azure Synapse doesn't support triggers. So this is where the second thing is that high risk is more work. Basically, if you have this kind of data set, and you need to figure out how to map to Azure Synapse. This is not supported natively in Azure Synapse. However, most of the databases I encounter don't have this kind of data. Who would save an image in the data warehouse? So much data, you want a quick query result, right? So, but you need to check. If you do, you may want to have a solution for that. Yeah, code dependencies, I think also if you see a lot of dependencies and that higher code dependency is higher risk. So this is, higher risk means if you need more effort, you need more skilled resource, need more money, and if things could go wrong, and you need to manage it. See, this is from a project execution perspective, you always want to be prepared. So I won't really recommend you use these. I just say if you don't have anything, this is estimation framework with migration hours. This is just based on how I did it, how many hours I think should be allocated. Not using skill set like mine. I have done this a long time. Just the average worker who are familiar with SQL Server and can learn fast. So this is the hours. Okay. Staffing plan is giving some guide here. Yeah, this is this is more project management accelerators. Okay, so best practices. So this one I want to really, this is big why I put this first. In quite some scenarios, right? Your data warehouse was developed, 10 years ago, many years ago. A lot of people working on it. The code is not the best. You said, why don't I take this opportunity to refactor the code, make it good code to work in Azure, right? It is really a good, theoretically, the good idea. But in practical, that introduced a lot of risk. And give you example. So you re-engineer the code. It has a different business logic. Who is going to see the code is working? How do you test your test effort? What if the re-engineered code did something wrong and send the wrong data or wrong business logic to the downstream BI, and suddenly your migration you think is great, but impacts so many other current users, right? They are using the current. So that is, you work with the code which was written many years ago by some developers who are no longer here. You don't even understand the old logic. So really don't do that. But if you want to do that, do it in Azure. Migrate the code first, because migration already has its own risk, and then reorganize your stuff in Azure. So, but what you can do is you can delete some of the data you're absolutely not sure is not used, that data. Like if you're moving from New Jersey to California or Texas, where is the hot place to go right now. So it's you want to dump a lot of garbage in your house. That type of cleanup you can do, but not re-engineer how you live. You may want just assuming the same lifestyle you are in New Jersey, and get to California, you can re-engineer your lifestyle. If you play golf in New Jersey, in California, you may want to do surfing, right? So that you can change once you move to California. And don't while you're moving to California, but say I'm going to surf in California, let me buy all the surfing gears and put it in my trunk. So that's what the re-engineering is doing. And get rid of your golf clubs. And so don't do that. Just take your golf clubs and to California. And you may still need that golf club to work in California, right? And when you don't want to work with Golf Club, you can retire it. That's the re-engineering in California. So this is a big no-no. Don't mix re-engineering and migration together unless this is a mini database. There's not much work in it. It's a new anyway. It's 6 months old. You haven't even put in production. Now you say what's done in SQL Server, do it. So okay, so that is my recommendation. Use agile process. What I mean is don't plan to migrate the entire 100 terabyte of data in one shot. If it's in 15,000 tables, you want to work like move 500 tables and next 500 tables, next 500 tables. Like each sprint is like you move a portion of the tables. That is what, and the code is the same. Don't plan to say, I'm going to rewrite all of the code or convert all the code and then shall schedule weekend to move. That's not the way you should do the migration. Set up your network and access in the first sprint. I think this is a no-brainer. And the first sprint, you want to migrate a small number of objects to create and smooth out the process. So you always want to use your first sprint to actually clear out the infrastructure, the process. So you don't go back and redo your infrastructure a second sprint or third. So, and this one I covered early on. Yeah, data types. I also covered early on. See, this is also very important. When you are moving large amount of data, like 100 terabyte, or 50, or even 20, through the network, you need to work with your network management group to secure the bandwidth. Say, hey, I'm going to move this much data during these hours. Would that be a problem? Would that choke your network? Can I do that? So this is really needed to communicate with your infrastructure people. Yeah, this one, I think this I covered. Maybe I should, link this together to the first one. So this is actually the material I have. I went fast, so I want to leave more time for questions.
Thank you so much, Sean, for that. Thank you so much for your presentation, Gail. If you guys have any question, feel free to ask. You can see she walked us through that GitHub document she shared with us. I think it's gonna be very easy for us to follow up. Yeah, leverage this document to migrate our data. So if you guys have any question, unmute yourself. You are free to interact with Gail.
I'll go first. This is Anurag.
Hey, Anara.
Yeah, so I'm working as a technical architect and especially on Azure cloud. So I have one question here. Like once we have SQL data warehouse on-prem system and we are going to migrate that into the Azure Synapse Analytics. Okay, so what will happen? We in Azure Synapse we have a different kind of a structure. For example, we have table structure as a distribution, hash distribution, round robin, and all these kind of so if we are going to migrate our on-prem table to Azure Synapse, so do we need to do any kind of activity at our end to migrate it, or anything on code modernization we need to do to migrate it? So
That's
that's
a really good question. First, the table distribution, maybe I can bring up my local code. Hold on. You do need to translate the tables. that's what the module, first module. I think if I have this in my C drive, I have a sample. They're easy to show.
While she's looking for that file, I would also highly suggest you to understand the access pattern as well. So this way you can pick the best field for the distribution key.
Okay,
Okay.
after that, yeah, that's good. Yeah, okay, go ahead.
Okay. So first, how do you handle that? So that is handled in the module 1. So this is the, if you download first, how do you use this GitHub? I think it's good to cover this. Not everybody has done this. So what you go to here, go to this root. You just say download the zip file to your local and unzip it. You have all of the code and documentation download to your local. So I only have the SQL Server piece, and this is my local. So you have the modules, right? Translate tables. First, there's a utility, okay? There's a utility generate. This is all documented in that GitHub page. So there's a generate. You run this one. And by the way, if you want to more details, I have the module 1 YouTube video. So you run this one. You need to change some of these names, database name stuff, and you generate the configuration file. Let me see a sample config. You can use CSV or Excel, both will work.
Okay, I got this. So in
You got
GitHub,
this, okay.
yeah, I got it. So in GitHub, we will have utilities, and from where we can download this .sql file, and that we need to run on our on-prem system. That will generate a code, or rather, or our SQL scripts, right? Which we are going to run on the Azure Synapse. Is it?
Yeah. So this is my database name. See, this is my
Yeah.
this is my on-prem. This is my schema name, right? And
Yeah.
this is my Azure Synapse database name. This is my schema, Azure Synapse schema name. And this is my table name. Yeah, this is using Adventure Works. And the object is table. This one say if there's already a table there, drop the table, old table. This is Azure Synapse, we say yes. And here is the type, is all, you can actually create a heap table. There are 2 types of table, heap table and CCI, okay? So here's you can say this is replicate. This is round robin. For this table, I want round robin, this one on hash. If it's hash, I want a key. And if it's a multiple key, this is how you specify multiple key. So this is a little bit of manual design involved. So for the dimension table, you want to use a replicate most of the time. Fact table use a hash. So this is really certain table you want the round robin. This is how you configure it. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, I got your idea. So
Yeah.
that will help us to generate the our target system query. So do we need to use dedicated SQL pool or serverless?
For SQL data warehouse, recommend dedicated.
Dedicated. Okay, fair
Yeah.
enough. Yeah.
Mm.
Okay. Thanks. That's me. Yeah. Thank you.
All right. Okay. Good question.
One more question. Sorry to say one more question. Like we have on-prem system like ETL with SSIS. So now we are going to migrate everything to Azure Synapse. But in this, in our integrated pipeline, so SSIS doesn't support, right? So
So
we
there
cannot
are,
lift
yeah,
shift. We cannot lift and shift here.
it depends on situation. There are a lot of documentation. Certain type of SSS can be uploaded to ADF can run it. Yeah.
No, ADF can run, but
Yeah.
integrated pipeline under Synapse Analytics, it is not allowing to create a SSIS integration runtime. So it will not allow to, run from Azure Synapse. So we'll have to go because actually I was in situation where we have to migrate our on-prem SQL Server databases along with SSIS ETL. Okay, so in that scenario, when my client was expecting to go with the Azure Synapse Analytics, but the problem was we were not able to implement we were not able to execute our SSIS package in integrated pipeline under Synapse Analytics. So what I have decided, let's go with the ADF along with the Azure SQL database. So that's what we did. So do we?
Oh, okay, I see. Just because
Yeah.
the ETL, so you ADF has more flexibility to integrate with the surroundings.
Because SSIS package we can run in ADF, but we cannot run in Azure Synapse.
Yeah, in that case, for the migration, but you can still your SQL server can still run into a Synapse SQL pool once you use ADF. You don't have to use Azure SQL DB unless that's a good fit for your workload.
Yeah, yeah. So that was the only issue. So that is the reason we went to ADF along with the Azure SQL database.
Oh, okay. If supports your workload, it works, right?
Yeah, yeah, it worked.
Just Azure Synapse is more powerful. There's a lot of things going on in the Azure
But
Synapse. Yeah.
in Azure Synapse, we were not able. We had to redesign our SSIS package in integrated pipeline under Synapse. We cannot
Okay.
run as is.
Yeah, when we did this when we put part of the ADF, basically we didn't, develop a new product just for Azure Synapse. So Azure Synapse is utilizing a portion of the ADF services, and
Correct.
so you don't have to create it. Yeah, it will
Yes.
not be the best situation for every use case. If you have architecture where your data is coming in from everywhere, and your downstream is some go to Azure Synapse, some go to somewhere else, some goes to another place. In that case, you should really have your ADF outside of Synapse. You can still integrate with the pipeline in Synapse, but you cannot use the Azure Synapse Studio integration to do all of the work. Yeah.
Got it. Yeah. Thank you so much. Yeah.
That's another great question, architecture question.
Yeah, thanks, Gail. Thanks,
Yeah.
Anurag. We are also, this is Hema Kumar, and we are also
Hey.
facing the pretty much similar issue. We have an on-prem SQL server, a data warehouse server, which gets the data from all the gaming domain. And it's like a couple of terabytes of data. We created our own SSIS packages to transfer the data from warehouse to another warehouse. Now we are in the process of migrating from on-prem to Azure Synapses. And we have we were trying to utilize the existing SSIS packages that is not supported in pipeline. So we are getting into ADF. Through ADF, we're gonna rewrite all the existing packages in such a way that ADF will take care of it. So is there any other alternative without ADF? Can we use existing SSIS packages hosting another SQL server or any other way?
Okay, first, I'm not a SSS person. Can you rephrase your question again?
Yeah, currently we have a one secure domain. From the domain, we have a point-to-point data replication. We don't want to use the regular replication. We created an SSIS packages. Using the CDC. Any change happens, there is a full synchronization and hourly synchronization to local database, on-prem local data. From on-prem, now we are like this data will goes to multiple destinations, right? On from warehouse server. So now what we decided is instead we go to Azure Synapse data warehouse. From on-prem, we are moving it to Azure Synapse. So how we migrate and create a data synchronization hourly or like a daily. So through SSIS currently. So
is your SSIS still staying on-prem?
Yeah, currently it is stay on-prem, and we want to migrate it to Azure Synapse Analytics. Like, what are the other options that we have?
So if your SSIS is still on-prem, you just interact with Azure Synapse using the SQL connection.
For now, like in future, hourly transactions, how is going to happen? Like a synchronization, like every hour the data is coming from gaming domain. We have to pick the data and send it to the Azure Synapse.
You were doing the data CDC in the SQL Server, right?
Correct. Yeah. CDC.
Yeah. So now you see, how do you do once you're in Azure? How is it synchronized?
Exactly.
Okay. I don't know the answer. There are answers for that, but I don't know because I haven't done that kind of work.
Yeah, I was wondering in case anyone knows or like.
Yeah. There's I actually don't have a lot of good knowledge on SSIS. So data warehouse person. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what we kind of like realized that the creating an CDC is a mistake, and we could have used the replication. So now we are trying to figure it out through various ways, like how can we transfer this data.
I'm sure there are some documentation if you search Azure document. Let me see if I can even find something to just give you a lead.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, maybe some of the things, maybe you can discover some in some other document. Hold on 1 second. I'm just going to show you something else. I just actually learned about this yesterday, working with engineering. So I'm going to ping this to the chat room. This doesn't have the SQL Server, but has a lot of good articles and may be able to help you to figure out the method. So this is Azure Synapse Migration Guide, and we're working on the SQL Server part. So we have the Natiza migration, ETL, and migration considerations. So some of the document that may be able to help you. This is Teradata. I haven't read all of them. I just discovered this yesterday, right? So since I have not been doing migration since December, so I don't know all of the new things. I just happened to have a meeting with engineering yesterday. They wanted my input for the SQL Server migration content. So I learned about this link. So possibly, possibly for the audience here, you may have Natiza and the Teradata situation. This may help you because these have some good document. We're just working on the SQL Server, not published yet.
Yeah, usually we have around 50 terabytes of data, and daily we expect like a 1 terabyte of data. That's what our